Welcome to the Rituals with Michaela podcast, a space for you to come as you are and tune into conversations that will support you on your path to becoming all that you're meant to be in this lifetime. I'm Michaela, a hypnotherapist and spiritual mentor. Daily rituals have been the most transformative tool in my healing and manifestation journey, and I want to share every piece of that wisdom with you. Think of this podcast as a weekly ritual for you to cultivate deeper awareness, inspiration, and connection to yourself. And most importantly, every episode will leave you with a simple ritual to integrate and embody everything you've learned. Whether you listen with your morning coffee, on your drive to work, or while you move your body, wherever you are, just take a deep breath, tune in, and turn this into your own special time just for you. Hello, my loves, and welcome back to the Rituals with Michaela podcast. Today, we are going to be doing an episode on how to know if it is your higher self speaking to you or another voice inside of you. I came up with 3 distinct ways to tell, and the reason why I'm sharing this is because it's been something that I'm learning really quickly right now. I thought I was listening to my higher self all of this time because I was becoming the observer of my mind, becoming the observer of my thoughts, and I thought that by doing so, by becoming the observer, that I was automatically going to be listening to my higher self, because if I'm aware of what I think and what I feel, then I have the power to be able to choose again and to change that. But I realized that I was actually observing my thoughts and observing my feelings from this very heavily attached perfectionistic place inside of me of wanting to shift into this really high vibration and wanting to catch every single negative thought that came my way, to the point where I was being really hard on myself. If I was in a lower vibrational state or if I was struggling, I would catch it right away and try to just run away from those thoughts and run away from those feelings in the hopes that I could tune to a higher frequency. And what happened was I was just getting in this cycle of being aware of what was wrong and trying to fight against it, trying to avoid it, instead of being curious about it, instead of wanting to know more. And so, the first thing that I would like you to know about your higher self is that the voice of your higher self is never ever judgmental. It's never going to feel like a parent who is getting you in trouble for doing something wrong. The voice of your higher self is always going to be so compassionate, because the higher self is really just the past, present, and future version of you. So your higher self has the ability to see from this bird's eye perspective why you are where you are, why you're thinking what you're thinking, why you're feeling what you're feeling, why you're repeating these same patterns over and over again. Your higher self understands exactly why, and exactly why breaking those habits and changing those thoughts have been challenging for you. Your human self, maybe even the voice of the observer inside of you, just wants you to fix it, just wants you to change it, just wants you to be healed already, and doesn't understand why it's taking so long. And so there's this feeling, at least for me, of feeling rushed, of feeling like, gotta get out of these negative thoughts, gotta get out of these negative spirals. Oh, I don't want to go there. That makes me feel depressed or anxious or overwhelmed, and trying to avoid and tiptoe around what it is that I actually feel. And I find that the role of the observer is very important. It was a huge step on my spiritual journey to no longer let my programming take over and to be able to observe, I wonder where these thoughts are coming from. Oh, there I go with that story again. There I go with that again. The role of the observer is very important, but it can become detrimental if it is not paired with that connection to your higher self and with that connection to the voice of compassion, which is the voice of your higher self. So what I mean by that is when you observe, okay, I'm in this negative thought loop again. If you stay down here in this voice, it's going to feel like a lot of panic and fear, like, okay, I got to change it. I'm judging myself. Like, I shouldn't be here. But if you're able to observe and then pass that observation onto your higher self and say, what do you think about this? Why is this showing up? Getting curious. That is going to lead you to develop more compassion for yourself, more understanding for yourself. And through that understanding, you're able to dive a little bit deeper with yourself and understand, okay, what is the unprocessed emotion here? What is it that my inner child is afraid of? Because you have to remember that everything that you think and feel and do is something that you likely learned in this lifetime or in another lifetime to survive, to make it through this whole experience. So to tell yourself, oh, I shouldn't be thinking that or doing that or feeling that, is to completely invalidate all of these survival tactics that you learned that were very, very important for you at some time in your life. Now they might not be serving you, but we can't just run away from them. We have to look at them and say, I understand you. I understand why you did this, and start to seek to understand what it is that you're really needing. Maybe it's to feel safe. Maybe it's to feel understood and to feel heard. And so when we can bring that higher self voice of compassion to whatever the situation is, we can actually start to create the safety to allow ourselves to feel what we need to feel and to get our actual need met. And that doesn't come through judgment and avoidance of what we're feeling. So that is the first sign. The second sign kind of goes hand in hand with it, but the voice of your higher self is going to feel like a warm hug. It is going to feel like comfort, like relief, because again, there isn't that feeling of judgment or feeling like I messed something up or I'm doing something wrong. It is complete understanding of why you are where you are and why you chose to do what you chose to do. And I want to give you an example of this once, just so you can really understand like how it might be showing up in your life right now. So for me, something that I have really, really judged myself for, and something that I've been very confused about in my life, is the fact that my intuition over and over again has told me that coffee is not really the best choice for me. And I've gone through all of these different phases where I've cut it out for a few months. I start to feel a little bit better, but there's a part of me that just feels like I really, really miss it. I really, really crave it. And I really don't want to feel limited in my life. I don't want to feel deprived. That's very triggering for me. And so I've become really curious as to why I feel like this has some type of power over me, like there's an addiction there almost. And for a while, because I was judging myself, I couldn't get the clarity. I couldn't feel the warm hug, the compassion, the understanding. And now what I've come to understand is that it has to do with my nervous system being dysregulated. It has to do with me being sometimes in a little bit more of a frozen state due to trauma and things that I've experienced. And so when I wake up in the morning and I tell myself I can't have the thing that usually pulls me out of that frozen state, it feels like I'm just trapped there, and it feels really, really difficult. And I can do it for certain periods of time, but I'm not addressing the root cause of the frozen state by just making it about coffee. Coffee is not the problem to me. It is a symptom of an underlying issue. So when I received guidance from my higher self, I realized that I need to let myself have the coffee. I need to let myself have it because it is a tool that I've learned to use to survive and to feel good. And if I just try to take away the coffee really abruptly, it's going to actually dysregulate me more and make me feel more alone and more trapped. And so the higher self guidance was to work on regulating my nervous system. And through certain tools that I'm going to be practicing over the next few months, I will get to a place where I no longer feel like I'm dependent on coffee to bring me out of that frozen state. So the higher self guidance was, you can still have the coffee, you can still use the tools that are helping you, but you're also going to be empowered in this and start to focus on healing that underlying issue. And so you can see how that feels like a warm hug versus my higher self being like, nope, you just got to cut out coffee. You just got to have the willpower. There's something wrong with you if you're not able to just commit to taking it out of your life, if you know that it's not serving you. That voice was so judgmental and so harsh that it made me feel so ashamed that I would go back to drinking coffee over and over again. So now the voice of my higher self just feels like a warm hug because it's like, it's okay. I understand why you're choosing this. I understand why you feel like you need this sometimes. And it's okay you are going to work on these underlying feelings and you're going to make yourself feel safe enough to the point where you don't feel like you need it as much. And I kid you not, I've been doing this just for like a few days now that I'm recording this episode. I already feel so much less stress when I do let myself have coffee. On days when I don't have it, I feel like I have freedom. I feel like, oh, I can have that if I want to because it's a tool in my toolbox that really does help me. And there's no shame in that. There's reasons as to why I feel like I need it, and I'm working on it simultaneously. So I feel very empowered in that choice. So that's what I mean when I say that it feels like a warm hug, because it's not depriving, it's not judgmental, and it's not shaming. It's actually giving you more insight as to why you do what you do, and also providing you with tools and insight as to how you can begin working at that problem from the root cause rather than just trying to use willpower to get over those symptoms. The very last sign that your higher self is communicating to you is that when you receive the guidance, it feels like something you already knew deep down. You know when you have like an intuition about something and then it gets confirmed through like an outside source and you're like, I fucking knew that already. But maybe you weren't listening to it. A very clear example that I have had of this is being in relationships that are wrong for me. You know it the whole time deep down, but maybe you're not ready to face it until a certain point in your life. So when your higher self is communicating with you and you get an insight around it, and it feels like, oh, yes, I already knew this. This is something that my soul already knows. That is confirmation that your higher self has been communicating to you this whole time, and now you're ready to receive that guidance and actually implement it. Another example of this that I'll just throw in really quickly for me has been my healing journey with my body and like with food. I would hear certain people talking about like diets or rules or things that they thought that they had to do to get to the body that they want, to get to the health that they want. And it just would feel like so restrictive or so wrong to me on some level. And that's how I know that it's not in resonance with my higher self and with what I know to be true. But then there would be some times where I would hear people talking about a certain way of life, a certain way of eating, certain supplements, and something inside of me would be like, oh, that's true. I know that that's true. And so I would follow that and it would lead me to feeling better and to healing at a deeper level. So my point is, when your higher self is communicating to you, it's not really going to feel like something you didn't know already. It's going to feel like something maybe you weren't consciously aware of, but that you have always known deep down. So for this episode, I'm going to leave you with a little ritual to call on your higher self. And you can do this with me right now. If you're driving, I recommend doing this later. But if you're in a space where you can, close your eyes, place your hand over your heart and one hand over your belly, and just tune in to the presence of your higher self within you. Tune into that feeling of that all compassionate, loving, understanding energy. And repeat out loud or to yourself after me. I call on my higher self to send me a clear message of something that will benefit my highest good and the highest good of all. I ask that this message come through clearly, easily, and within the next 24 hours in a way that I cannot miss. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. If you enjoyed it, please make sure to leave me a review on Apple or Spotify and send me a screenshot to either my email, which is in the show notes, or to my Instagram DMs. If I miss your Instagram DM, which I have been doing, please feel free to email me or to comment on an Instagram post and let me know. Sometimes those message requests get kind of lost or buried, so just make sure to bother me until I acknowledge that you have done it. I'm so sorry sorry to those of you who I've missed. Thank you again so much for listening. I'm so grateful for each and every one of you and all of your support. I truly feel like speaking, creating podcasts, sharing what's going on in my personal healing journey is a huge part of my mission here on earth. And I couldn't do it without you guys listening. So thank you so much. I'm sending you so much love and gratitude, and I will see you in the next episode.